Hello, welcome to Garden Chronicles. I'm James David, and today I'm actually having a nursery garden tour here in Ninso. This particular branch is in Batu Caves. I will be making a quick review on some of the interesting plants sold here, so stick around and enjoy the window shopping. Most of the plants here are suitable for indoor plants. Here, this particular one is known as Syngonium pink. It is still a popular and highly sought after plant, and I do find that this is fairly a very good size for a very affordable price. One time ago, this particular plant was very difficult to get, but now it is easily available. Coming back to this section, I see there's a collection of philodendron plants. This is particularly a big leaf type. I believe this particular one can grow larger and big if they are trained into a pole. But over here, I think they are sold for a very decent medium-sized plant. I believe there is a 2 plantlet in one pot, and I think it is considered fairly affordable and very cheap if you ask me, considering one time ago this was very expensive and not easy to get. Over here is a collection of Monstera, which I find that it is dirt cheap. One time ago again, these were very expensive. If I can believe that for this particular size, a smaller plant than this would have cost you easily 50 ringgit or so. And in most cases, these were not even available. And then here, for this particular price, you actually get 2 plants in one pot. So I find it is sort of that the plant, the pricing and the plant has come to a dirt cheap price, and I believe that this is one of the things that I would enjoy buying. So one of the lessons that I learned from this particular thing here is not to buy a plant when it's actually trending, as they can fetch to a very expensive price and then they can horribly drop and you may have lose the value. This is a common Syngonium. This is that is very easily available in most places, and I find that also this is sold in a very fairly affordable price. This is another type of bird nest fern also here, and I'm just going to go a quick video here, and this is all the collection that is sold here. This is a Dracenia. Also, one time ago, as I said, they were all considered rare and difficult to get, but now it has become a common plant. A Cycad, this particular one I've noticed is slightly pricey, but knowing that this particular plant is actually grown by seedling, I find that it will take years to grow, and I find that this particular one, it's more likely identified as a still plant. It will not grow easily, at least it might only grow after a few years, and so if you want to have something which is stable, I would actually recommend this. Cycad appears to have some similarities like a palm, but this particular one is a very slow growing plant. I can't imagine how this was actually grown by seed, because it would have taken at least months or years for them to come to this stable size. Over here, it appears to look like philodendron Birkin, but it may be reverted for some strange reason, or I may be wrong in some ways, and I find that there is some variegation which is not stable in the appearance at the back leaf, so I can't be sure. And looking at the label, I find that it is actually mislabeled for something else, more like a hard leaf philodendron, so I'm not very sure, but my closest guess, it could be a Birkin, and for this particular size, for a reverted Birkin, is quite a steal. And so is one of the things that I've noticed, that what happens to a plant that has been highly sought after and trending, and once they have hit the market with a bulk, price tend to drop drastically, and therefore you have to be wise not to buy plants during their trending moments. Coming back to the collection that I've shown earlier. This is the one that I was actually mentioning, the fancy leaf bird nest fern. I believe there is a particular name specifically for this, but I find that bird nest fern has already come to a place where there are many variegation and types and leaf pattern, and I find this is one of the things this particular ferns has hit a market where you can actually have a collection on them. More Birkins here. Normally what I'll do here is that after purchasing the plant, I do take out the soil medium and replanted them, because I somehow find that these particular ones are not stable. If you look over here, the names are actually mislabeled. But however, this particular plant is considered a big deal when it comes to a philodendron. Over here is the Hoya Kirki, and I find that it's also a steal, because the price that is actually a market price, which is actually being sold, is a little bit more expensive than this. And over here I think they're selling it for a steal. And coming to know about this particular Hoya, they are terrible slow growing plant. You may be able to only see about one leaf at least in 1 to 2 months time, and for this particular size I think it's a very big deal. And more collection on coming back to this Monstera. We can look over here, the leaf looks to be very fragile, so there's a slight tear here. One of the things that you have to notice is purchasing it, do check them carefully, because they may have been mishandled. And when it comes to Monstera new leaves, they are very fragile, so do make your selection. But however, I believe that they may tend to die back and grow new leaf once they're introduced in the garden. So in a way, consider it as introducing the plant as a specimen in a garden until it reverts into a stronger plant. There's another collection of indoor plants here. Also, these are Decidia species. So I find that they do have a wide range of rare plants, which was one time ago was highly sought after, and now it is made easily available, and it's in a very affordable price. I do find that this particular Decidia seems to be a little bit challenging compared to most of other species, so do take note on overwatering and proper maintenance on this particular one. I don't recommend this if you are a new beginner, but if you fancy it, do try your hands on this. This particular one is more of an evergreen plant. Most cases this particular plant appears to be more like a tree-like kind of thing, often cultivated as a bonsai. So if you tend to grow them, do use them, because I believe these are actually planted using seeds, as they are more like a sapling kind of thing. So they will not be able to handle here too long. So this is more like a temporary kind of thing. So if you plan to keep it in long terms, do plant them separately in individual garden pots. This is a collection of Caliphia. If you fancy Caliphia, find that this is one of the things. I find that one time ago this was actually very expensive and not easy to get, but now it is easily available. Somehow I find that Cattleyas are also a little bit fussy and finicky plant. They tend to suddenly die back if they are overwatered, and they require certain humidity and such matters, and so therefore it's a little bit difficult to care for. A little bit more collection of Syngoniums here. Basically these are the common types, which is easily available in most nurseries. Coming over here are peace lily. This particular type of peace lily, I find that they have miniature size kind of flowers, or inflorescence they call it. The white hood is actually a modified leaf, and there is a long story on this particular one. Do proper research on it and you'll find them quite interesting. However, I believe there are more than one plants that has been planted in this particular pot, so you may want to separate and replant them when they grow bigger. This is another collection of bonsai. As I mentioned earlier, if you fancy, you can actually get this. This is actually a famous known as a hard leaf ferns. One time ago they are also sought after during Valentine's period of time during February, and I find that they are also making a comeback, which is fairly cheap, because one time ago I found that they were so slightly expensive. However, I do find that this one is a little bit like maiden hair fern, a little bit finicky and sensitive, so you may have to get the right humidity for it to grow. A little bit more of this Syngoniums and peace lily. And Shephera, this is the white version, I mean the green version. I find that it's quite planted in a compact form, so I find it's quite a steal. Most probably you can replant it and repot it so that it can grow more robust due to the size that has been planted here. I believe that they are actually more of a cutting that's been planted here. Somehow this one is more of an indoor plant, and so if you fancy an indoor plant, I believe this is a hardy type. Coming back to this particular fig plant, Lytra, and I find that fiddle fig kind of, I believe, Lytra, and I find that this particular one also was very expensive and very highly sought after, and now it appears to be more like a common household plant, which is very affordable and easy to get. So yeah, coming back to trending plants, I believe this has came down in a notch where they are very much available and affordable. A little bit of earth stars here. I find that this is also very much like a bromelid, and if you fancy having them, they are also one of those kinds. Aglaonemas, and I find that this do not have much of a color, it's more of a green tones, but however I think Aglaonema collectors would find that these are one of the easiest plants to grow. They also sell begonias. However, I do find this particular begonias a little bit challenging because they appear to be more of a highland types. And so if you have hands on them and you have a good experience handling them, then go for it. If not, I would not recommend these for new beginners, as they are quite sensitive plants. However, they are slightly cheaper than market price. One time ago, these were actually sold minimum about 25 ringgit. Now it's almost slashed to half the price. Over here, a little bit collection of Variegated Decidia, and I find that also one time ago they were very pricey. I don't want to repeat the same thing again, but I just want to show to you that what has been actually sold here. And I find that more shockingly, most of these plants have already lost their expensive price tag, and now they are very much affordable. Hence now all these plants are now easily available. You don't have to stress out, as if you were to buy online, the plants may not have to sit in a courier for 2-3 weeks. There's a little bit of this Dracenia. I find that this is one of the common ones, but I've not seen in most nurseries. Considering this particular plant, I would say this is fairly an easy plant to grow. I believe this is actually a cutting which has been rooted, and I find that it's easily about 3 plantlet in a pot. And I believe that this particular plant can do well as for beginners. This particular Caliphia, I believe, is a tricolor. Is also somehow I find it's a little bit finicky, and I would not recommend it for new beginners. I actually killed twice, 2-3 times actually with this particular one. So if you fancy, go for it, but I doubt that I would recommend this to any new beginners. The pot seems to be a little bit fancy, and I'm not sure whether they actually shipped from China. But also I find that they are also different in a number of plants in it. One has a full bush here, and the other has 3. So I'm actually coming to a conclusion of my video here. I see you in my next video. Thank you and have a nice day. Bye.